Prologue. Third-person POV. Divine intervention. That's what many call this event. Divine intervention. People began to talk when word reached every nook and cranny in the realm of what happened on the fateful day of the heir's tourney. Not only did they talk, they prayed, they cried, they laughed, they drank, and they did many other things. There were so many mixed reactions to the news of Baelon Targaryen barely surviving his childbirth. His mother, Queen Aemma Arryn, was unable to make it. This crushed the king and his daughter, Rhaenyra. The realm was in mourning, they had adored their queen, the news devastated them. Everyone prayed for her soul to rest and for her son to grow healthy. But healthy did Baelon grow. The first few days were scary for King Viserys. He carefully observed his son, seeing that on some minutes he would stop breathing and on others, the color would leave his body. But alas, after the 7th day, he was okay. But why did people call Baelon's birth divine intervention? Well, the answer was quite simple. The Targaryen dynasty's most powerful and sacred symbol, the Black Dread, had regained his vigor. This was a huge shock to everyone. People called it a divine event, considering Balerion a god. Balerion was last ridden by Aemma Targaryen, the young girl who accidentally fell off his saddle and tumbled to her death a few hours after claiming him. This event was dubbed the Dreadful Fall, and ever since then, Balerion would have nobody attempt to claim him. The Black Dread eventually grew too old and too heavy to move and his health began to deteriorate. Many believed he would die of old age, but the beast would not succumb to death. He would merely lay in his massive cave inside the dragon pit, not seeing the light of day for many decades. He could barely move, merely looking at any dragonkeeper that would walk in front of him. Despite this, he was still dangerous enough to harm anyone he didn't like the company of, but most of the time, he would let even a toddler slap him on the snout. By the time Viserys I Targaryen tried to attempt him when he was young, he was barely eating, only taking a single goat per week. This concerned the old king and he had urged the keepers and maesters to think of something to improve his health, but nothing was successful. The then young prince, Viserys, was enamored by Balerion, as any young Targaryen was at the time. He decided it was time for him to finally have a new rider. But Balerion refused. He merely pushed Viserys off of him and gave the young prince a warning growl, firmly stating that he was not interested. Viserys would then go on to claim another dragon who eventually died in a fated accident which was covered up. It was not just Viserys who attempted to claim Balerion. His younger brother Daemon attempted, but the dragon did not even let him get near. This prompted the prince to settle for Caraxes, some years later. Balerion's mere presence, weak but living, was a testament to the Targaryens' power. Nobody even dared to think of rebelling, considering that the Black Dread was still living. Every single person in the realm would laugh at the possibility of anyone challenging the Targaryen rule, claiming that they would be destroyed by the Black Dread. However, those who were smart and better aware of the situation would clearly state that it was Vhagar, Vermithor, Meleys, and Caraxes who were the current symbols of power. Balerion was merely the symbol of the Targaryens' will and refusal to die. This was true. Balerion was more than just a dragon, he was like an old man, too stubborn to die and was just there, tucked in the corner, and everyone would check in once in a while. When Princess Rhaenyra was old enough to claim her own dragon, King Viserys took her to see Balerion. The Black Dread merely stared at the young girl with his head lying on the ground. He then snorted loudly and grumbled, giving the king and his daughter a clear warning to stay away. By this point, Balerion was simply a dragon who was too weak to move in the dragon pit and all thoughts of claiming him were gone. But on the fateful day, Balerion suddenly lifted his head up, the light on his eyes returning. It was stated by the keepers that they heard a deep and loud rumbling which startled the other dragons in the pit. When they investigated the source, it was discovered that it was Balerion's stomach, growling with hunger. The keepers were shocked that Balerion easily devoured a full-grown goat and growled for more. For the entire day, while the king mourned his dead wife, Balerion was gorging on all of the dragon's feed, which alerted the crown quite easily. After depleting the livestock, Balerion would then move around his massive cavern, shocking the keepers even further. Balerion would not do this at all. For the past decades he was alive, and this was quickly reported to the king. Shortly after Prince Baelon's health stabilized, Balerion was fed several large-sized cows and the Black Dread laid down and fell asleep. A loud and healthy snore was heard. He would slumber for weeks. While he slumbered, the keepers noticed that many of his scales had regained their color and any sign of his deteriorating health was gone. This sudden return to life shocked everyone and word quickly spread across the realm. There were those who stated that the old Valyrian god the dragon was named after decided to give him a second chance at life. There are others who say that Aemma's soul was used as fuel for the dragon's life force, rejuvenating him. It was a complete mystery what had happened. But one thing was for sure, Balerion was healthy and alive. This alarmed everyone, and those who ever thought of picking their arms up against their Targaryen overlords, which was stupid to begin with, quickly pushed those thoughts away. Balerion would eat healthily quite often, but he did not leave his cavern. It was a common routine after Baelon's birth, he would gorge and then slumber for an extended period. Every time it was shorter and shorter. There were times when he didn't eat, just laid there and vocalized loudly, his song resonating out of the pit and heard through the streets of King's Landing. After King Viserys remarried and had more children, he took his heir to the pit, and the famous moment happened once again. Baelon Targaryen, son of Viserys I Targaryen, slapped Balerion on the snout. The Black Dread was visibly confused, but to much of everyone's surprise and shock, the dragon did not show any signs of hostility. Viserys would then state that Balerion considered his son worthy and announced to the world that Baelon would soon claim the Black Dread, which filled him with excitement. And yes, this did in fact happen. At age 7, the same age his elder sister claimed her dragon, Baelon had the Black Dread hang his head to him. This was a pivotal moment in history. Nobody had managed this feat in decades. Baelon didn't fly Balerion, however, as Viserys and the small council were worried about another dreadful fall happening. The young prince would simply walk him around the cavern, content with this. Balerion, the entire time, would grumble loudly, almost as if he was proud that someone was finally worthy of him. Over the years after Baelon claimed Balerion, the young prince would constantly visit his dragon and oversee his feeding. Baelon was the only one who was allowed to even be so close to the massive dragon while he ate. There were times when Baelon would sleep on top of Balerion's head, something that would worry his stepmother, Queen Alicent. Baelon would also take his siblings and read them books as they sat atop the Black Dread's head while he slept. The moment that Baelon claimed Balerion, many lords across Westeros immediately jumped at the opportunity and offered their daughters to him. Not only was Prince Baelon the heir, but was the rider of the oldest, largest, and most powerful dragon in the entire world. The mere thought of having a direct connection to Baelon Targaryen excited any lord, since Balerion was now in the picture, above Vigor and Vermithor. But after careful consideration, Viserys announced to the realm that Baelon would wed his younger half-sister, Helaena Targaryen. This upset many of the lords, but eventually, they accepted the fact. When Baelon turned 11 years old, he finally did what everyone thought impossible. He took Balerion to the skies and rode him to Dragonstone, his future home that was occupied by his elder sister, who was placed there by their father. The sight of the Black Dread in the sky was a total shock to those who were not used to even Vigor. Ever since that day, Baelon would find any excuse to take his mount to the sky. And like Vigor, Balerion would no longer be confined to the pit, choosing his own spot outside the city walls in which a direct path was built solely for Prince Baelon to ride towards his dragon. Balerion was no longer a dying old dragon, he was an old dragon who refused to die and was granted a second chance. Now, Prince Baelon and Princess Helaena are fated to marry, and after their father passes, they will be king and queen. Until then, Baelon has vowed to make his dear sister the happiest woman in the world. And he's a man of his word. 12 comments 0 vote. Baelon Targaryen. Baelon's Pav. Baelon. I heard a voice call for me. I groaned through my pillow, drifting in and out of sleep. Baelon. The voice got firmer. I said as I laid there face down on my bed. Baelon. The voice shouted. I opened my eyes and lifted my head up. What? I said as my eyes adjusted. What happened? Who died? I slowly turned my head to see my stepmother, Alicent Hightower, standing there with a frown on her face. She was wearing her usual outfits, a dark green dress, while wearing the usual jewelry the queen would wear. She raised her eyebrow, not saying a word as I drowsily rolled over to my side, one eye closed as I looked at her. Oh, it's just mother. I said as I blew my bangs out of the way. What is it? You missed breakfast. She said. All of us were at the table, everyone but you. Ah. I said as I yawned. Mine apologies, mother. I plopped back down to my back, stretching my arms as I felt her gaze not move from me. Get dressed, we're going to the Kingswood today. She told me, your father has already ridden out. What? I said as I looked at her, what's happening at the Kingswood? She rolled her eyes. Have you forgotten? She asked, the royal hunt. For your brother's name day. Ah. I said, are we late? Very. She said as she turned around. Hurry and get dressed, I'll wait in the wheelhouse. I nodded, of course. I said as I slowly rolled off my bed, I can always fly there. She was walking away but she stopped and turned around, and scare every single stag and boar in the vicinity. No. She said, what were you doing up so late last night? The maids claim you snuck out in the middle of the dark. I wiped my eyes, nothing. I said, just. You know, stuff. She said looking at me, I best not hear a scandal, Baelon. I frowned, what? Me. A scandal. Never. I said with a chuckle, I'll meet you out there. Okay. She said as she walked away. I leaned on the cupboard, rubbing my eyes, trying to wake up, I said, oh boy, last night was something else, I wonder if the blood can be washed off in time. Oh well. I then took a step forward and began to stretch. Today was Aemon's name day, I had forgotten we were going to go the Kingswood and have a royal hunt for him. Shame, I wanted to fly with him today and have some brotherly fun, but I suppose that won't be possible. Royal hunts usually take a day or two after the start and knowing father, we are all to be there at all times. Rhaenyra won't attend, she's busy at Dragonstone. Which reminds me. I am soon to inherit that island as heir, huh? The time is nearing, I am 17 already. Oh well, no point in dwelling on it, I suppose I should change and tackle this day like usual. My prince. Sir Eric said as he bowed slightly. I nodded, Eric. I said as I walked up the stairs to the wheelhouse. As I stepped inside, I saw Mother sitting down with her hands on her lap, giving me a neutral look. Mother. I said as I leaned towards her and kissed her on the cheek, thank you for waiting on me. Ah, my beloved sister. I leaned into Helena, who was sitting next to her, and kissed her on the cheek as well. She didn't react, she was focused on sewing on her tapestry, like usual. Brother. She replied softly. I sat down across from them and patted my pants, so, a hunt, huh? I said, I wonder if Aegon is up for a little competition. I felt as the wheelhouse began to move. We were on the move. Do not tempt that boy. Mother said, he'll get hurt trying to impress you. I leaned back, but we're young men. I said with a chuckle, besides, he should learn how to hunt, it's good for exercise. Not all young princes are like you. She replied, so eager to shed blood. In the middle of the night. I said with sweat rolling down my face, you know. Of course I know. She said seriously, what business do you have encouraging the city watch to get into bloody fights? I twirled my hair as I looked away, Justice. I said under my breath. What was that? She asked sternly. Justice. I said a bit louder, murderers, fiends, they deserved a bit of discipline. I didn't kill anyone, neither did the gold cloaks. Still, people talk. She told me, be careful the next time you decide to sneak out. Yes, Your Grace. I said, I should cut my hair. No. She said, your father doesn't want you to. I hate how long it is. I muttered. My white hair was long and reached my shoulders, I had it tied up in a ponytail and had a single bang that sometimes got in the way. I once tried cutting it but father forbade it. It's not his hair, it's mine. I like it. Helena said with a slight smile. I smiled, oh, well, I guess I can keep it then. I chuckled. When we get to the camp, Baelon, you are to quickly greet your father and apologize for not attending the table. Mother said, and after that, you are to greet the other lords that have gathered all the way here to celebrate your brother's name day. Not only that, you will not go off to hunt on your own. You will wait until the entire group moves out. Understand? If my queen commands it, then so be it. I said looking up and leaning back, way to make a hunt boring. You'll have to endure it. She replied. Queen Alicent Hightower is father's second wife, my stepmother. They married when I was a babe, quite quickly after my birth mother's death. I never understood why, but apparently, it was out of duty for the realm. She's the mother of all my younger half-siblings, so I guess there's that. But not just that, she raised and loved me, almost like my birth mother would have, so I always have that debt to her. So she is deserving of me calling her that. Mother. She can be rather clingy and strict with me. I am the rider of Balerion, I do not need constant coddling. My sister Rhaenyra tells me the reason she's this smothering is because when I was a babe, I nearly died due to illness on multiple occasions and much like Balerion, I refused to die. Now that we're all here alone, Baelon, Helena. Mother said, it is time to discuss the inevitable, you two marrying. I looked at her with a raised eyebrow. Is it really appropriate? Yes. She said while looking at me, you are going to marry your sister and that is final. Ah. I groaned, marrying my beloved Helena. She doesn't deserve such a fool like me. It is an insult to the precious princess. Helena smiled at me, I don't mind, brother, it is fate. She said softly, we must do our duty. I smiled at her, you're too good for me. I told her. It is for the good of the family, the Targaryen name. Mother said, Targaryens. Keep the bloodline pure. I cut her off, I know, yes, no need to remind me. Then you will do your duty. She said with a serious frown, when she's a bit older, you two will marry, do you understand Baelon? Fine. I said with a sigh, I will treat her like she's my goddess, if that's what you want to hear, mother. I give you my word. 7 comments 0 vote. Baelon Targaryen 2. There isn't a definitive schedule for this story, I'll just work on this one when I feel like I need to take a break from the others to mentally refresh myself. This is basically a Helena fic, she deserves happiness in the world. Also, I felt like writing an OC writing Balerion during the time of Viserys' reign but with some changes, obviously. This isn't a where everyone is living somewhat happily and because Baelon is alive, he's the rightful heir and no dance happens. Of course, with Balerion in the picture, there could be some conflict or drama, who knows. Baelon's father. I said as I stood in front of where he stood, I would like to apologize for not attending breakfast. He leaned back, it had looked like he was speaking with Lord Lionel Strong but I suddenly came up to them and spoke up. We were in the royal tent, I had to endure the gazing and calls of many nobles and soldiers outside after I got here with Mother and Helena. I was looking for Aemon, but I guess he's somewhere in the crowd. Baelon. He said as he gave me a serious stare, you overslept again. I nodded, yes. I said, I was quite busy last night. Indeed you were. He said as he eyed me up and down, that was quite bold of you. That's what they call me. I said with a slight smile. He glanced at Lord Lionel who merely shifted while he stood there. He sighed, whatever. He said as he took a sip from his cup, go on, greet the lords of the realm. I already did. I said as I placed my hands behind my back, tell me father, when can we go on the hunt? Mother tells me I am forbidden to go off on my own. Yes, that you are. He said as he sighed, when the huntsman spots the white hart, we'll head out. Okay then. I clapped my hands, whoever gets to it first, wins. This is not a competition. He said with a frown. Ah, that's where you're wrong. I chuckled, it is. I turned around and walked away, nodding at some ladies who were looking in my direction. I then went to see where Aegon was, sitting down on one of the couches, drinking some wine and eating what looked like a piece of pie. I reached him and patted his shoulder, where is our brother? I asked him as I leaned down to him. Oh, shit. He said with surprise, Baelon. Where's Aemond? I asked, we should get out of here, get a head start and take that heart down. He looked at me, you mad? He asked, Mother would be furious. She's not going to know. I said with a chuckle, come on, stand up, leave that here, we're off. Fine. He said while rolling his eyes as I straightened up, Aemond is with grandsire, speaking to Uncle Gwaine. I said, well, let us go and fetch the prince. He stood up and patted his shirt, I suppose so. He muttered. I ruffled his hair, come, brother, let us have some fun. What are you two up to? Otto said as I pulled Aemond aside. We were outside, where the Lord Hand was speaking to his son, Sir Gwaine while Aemond and Darren were just standing there, idly. Aegon and I reached them and while Aegon picked Darren up, I pulled Aemond aside. I patted Aemond's shoulders as I gave him a slight smile, we are going to just have a little brotherly talk. I said, right, Aemond. What is it now, Baelon? He asked with an annoyed tone. If you plan on going off to hunt without the main hunting group, I highly advise against it, Prince Baelon. Otto said, your father is already sour after that incident in the middle of the night. You were fortunate no casualties had happened, otherwise, it would have been quite the punishment for you. We're not going to hunt or anything. I chuckled while leaning into Aemond's ear and whispered, we are. Aemond scowled, you're mad, mother will be furious. He said. Let the boys be boys, father. Gwaine said, it is good, though, the princes are in no danger, their eldest brother would be there. Anytime Baelon and Aemma are left to their devices, Balerion and Vigor are soon to be spotted in the air, terrorizing the small folk. Otto said, only a fool would leave them by themselves. I pointed at Otto as I pulled Aemma closer to me, hey. I said, you're the fool for thinking the small folk, my people, would be terrified of our dragons. It gives them relief that they're healthy and flying about. Let go of me. Aemma grumbled. Ah, it's your name day, brother. I said with a smile, let's go have some fun. Or would you rather stay with this bunch? So boring, listening to Sir Otto and Sir Gawain talk about politics. I noticed that Aegon was nearly dropping Darren as they stumbled out of sight. Let me go, Aegon. Darren shouted. Hey, be careful, you idiot. I said as I pointed at Aegon. Ha ha ha. Aegon laughed as he spun the kid in the air. Ah. Darren yelled. Aegon, you imbecile, put the boy down. Otto scowled. Gawain cleared his throat, I'll supervise them, father. He said, that way, they can't run off on their own. Not gonna run off. Aemma said. I patted Aemma's shoulder, now, brother, no need to be broody today. I told him, it is your day, we shall have the best of fun. I heard Darren begin to make gagging noises as if he was going to throw up. Aegon, he just ate a lemon pie, he's going to hurl. Gawain said. Aegon, for crying out loud, leave him be. Otto shouted. Both of them had their backs turned to Aemma and me and I leaned into him, now's our chance. I whispered, let's get a horse and ride back to the city, we get our dragons and we'll fly to Dragonstone. Wouldn't that be an adventure? No. Aemma sighed, not today. I frowned, what's with you? I've just learned that I am to be betrothed. He said. Oh shit. I said straightening up, to whom? He kicked some pebbles on the ground, Aemma Targaryen. He said with a disappointed tone, Rhaenyra's daughter. Oh, for real? I said with a bit of surprise, what's wrong with that? I don't know, she's our niece, I guess. He said. Well, that's true, now that I think about it. I said placing my hand on my chin, isn't she 11 too? He nodded, yay. Huh, how about that? I said, well, keep the bloodline pure and all. Oh well, what can we do? I'm marrying our sister. This whole thing is weird. It's to keep our dragons in the family, I suppose. He told me. That's true. I said, man, the amount of gifts I got to get my favor back when I claimed Balerion, ooh boy, everyone wanted me. There was that Westerlands girl who was Rhaenyra's age. Can you believe that? Aemond was around 4 years younger than me, he was 13 today. Aegon was around a year younger than me while Helena was 2 years younger. The little Darren was the youngest, he was barely 10 years old. Right now he was hunched over, trying not to hurl, while our brother laughed like an idiot and pointed at him. Father was working fast, huh? To rebuild his family, I guess. It's strange. Rhaenyra had children of her own, happily married and all, but she rarely spent time at the Red Keep or King's Landing at that. She was cozily keeping Dragonstone nice and tidy for me when I eventually turned 18 and moved in. I guess to her, the family dynamic was weird and only I was close to her. She didn't hate our siblings, she just felt off about it, considering she and mother were somewhat close prior to my birth. I was surprised she agreed to marry her only daughter to Aemond. I slapped Aemond's back, alright, let's not get too hung up about that. I said with a chuckle, let's go get something to eat. And after that, we go and have some fun. 5 comments 0 vote. Pissed. Download the app for additional rewards. More events, more perks. Winning you more free perks. Download now. Lunacia_Eugen. Download app now. Baelon Targaryen 3. Baelon's POV. Ah man, it would be nice if we could just sneak away and fly into the air alongside each other, little brother. I said as I rode atop my horse next to Aemond, this is fucking boring. I heard that. I heard father said as he rode up in front. We were in the Kingswood, the royal huntsman had spotted a group of healthy stags and said they were perfect to take down, so father gathered the main group to start riding out. Some of the lords that accompanied us were spotting wild boars and decided to hunt them instead. Aemond sighed as he was next to me, you're the eldest, Baelon, how are you this immature? He said with a frown, act your age, brother. I returned the frown, first of all, brother, I'm not the eldest. I told him, and what do you mean immature? I'll have you know, I'm far more mature than you are. I doubt it. He muttered. Aemond is such a sourpuss. Aegon laughed as he was to my right. It's his name day, he just got betrothed and yet he's not willing to be jovial like you, Baelon. That's right. I agreed. Why don't you want to fly alongside me, though? He asked as he drank water from his leather canteen. Because he's too small. I said, Balerion might crush him by accident. That's a lie. He said, Sunfire is too fast for that old man. Okay, well, your dragon is too pretty. I said with a chuckle, a terrifying and amazing sight that is Balerion should not be next to a shiny one like Sunfire. Now you're just making shit up. He said. Boys. Father called, that's enough of you. I then heard movement, seeing several bushes move to our far left. Yes, yes. I said as I pulled the bow that was strapped next to me, make way. I saw that father glanced back to me, oh for crying out loud, Baelon. He said as he urged Sir Otto and Lord Lionel to move out the way. I then saw as a stag jumped out of the bushes, which surprised the others who were on horseback. But I had already knocked my arrow and drawn the string back, taking aim at the large buck, firing it off with ease as I had stopped my horse. I watched as the stag was immediately struck right behind his front right leg, right on his heart for sure. He was in a mid-jump so he collapsed hard into the ground, causing a huge cloud of dust at the front of the group. 7 hells, Baelon. Father said, move up to the front if you're going to fire an arrow. I chuckled, oh. Want me to take point? He said, at once, your grace. Hia. My horse took off into a gallop as I knocked another arrow on the bow, seeing another stag jump out from behind a tree line. My prince. The huntsman said, be careful, there are some boars stampeding this way. Perfect. I said with a smirk. I knocked and drew the string, aiming at the stag, and fired with perfect accuracy. I saw as the buck drop down and crash against the tree. Oof. I said with a chuckle as I steered my horse towards the far left. Baelon. I heard father call out. I made my way towards where I heard several rumbling thuds, seeing several shadows barrel towards me. How convenient, a group of boars, huh? I grabbed one of the arrows from the quiver that was strapped to my saddle, knocking it as one of the boars ran towards my horse. The horse stopped and neighed loudly, standing on its hind legs to avoid the boar's charge. Oh. I said as I let myself flip backwards and landed on my feet on the ground, okay then. I stepped to the side, to avoid the horse kicking me for some reason, which has happened to someone once. I drew the string and aimed at one of the boars, firing the arrow and watching as it hit it right on its side, causing it to squeal loudly, crashing down hard on the ground. Prince Baelon. I heard someone call. I heard a shriek and turned to see a massive boar charging right at me. Ah. I said as I dropped the bow and jumped out of the way. I rolled on the ground and immediately straightened up, drawing my dagger and flipping it in the air. I caught it by its blade, carefully, and flung it at the boar that tried to gore me. It had stopped and turned around, only for my dagger to pierce its right eye, causing it to trash around as it squealed in pain. It hit itself by accident against a tree and as a reaction, it slammed its head against the tree, causing the dagger to rip apart that side of its face. Oh. I winced as I said. My prince. The huntsman said as he approached on his horse. I raised my hand, spear. He tossed me his spear as I heard another boar to charge towards me. Careful. He said as I caught it. I rolled away to avoid the boar's gore and as I straightened up, I saw that it was circling around. I said as I immediately launched the spear at it. The spear flew towards the boar and hit it right on its belly, piercing straight through. The beast dropped down to the ground as I walked towards it, pulled the spear out and took a step back, looking at its guts flowing out. Phew. I whistled, what does that make? 5. Are you counting? The huntsman asked. I nodded, am I in the lead? That other one isn't dead. He pointed at the one that was still squealing. I turned around and saw that the boar with the dagger in its eye was still tumbling around. Oh, right. I said as I launched the spear right at it. The spear paled its side, putting it out of its misery. That'll do it. He said. I stretched my arm, woo, been a while since I've worked my throwing arm like that. I said, this is some good exercise. My prince, you cannot be that reckless. He said. Baelon. I heard several hooves. I looked to my side and saw father riding with the others, looking at the sight of my own creation. Yes. I asked. Are you mad? He said with an angry face, what if something would happen to you? I'm in the lead. I said, how many do you all have? This is not a game. He said seriously. I shrugged. What's a royal hunt for, then? Boredom. I said, this is my brother's name day. We're supposed to have fun. What has gotten into your head? Mother scolded as we sat on the table outside of the hunting tents. Are you mad, Baelon? It was nightfall, most of the lords were outside as there was a large bonfire off into the distance to create some light. We were all sitting on the main table that was in front of the royal tent. What? I said as I ate a piece of chicken. You go off and do some insanities. She said with an annoyed tone, killing 3 boars and a stag. Wrong. I said, 5 boars and 4 stags. Record. This is not a competition, Baelon. She said in a hushed tone, do you wish to kill your father by stressing him out? I sighed, Mother, can I not have some fun on this special occasion? I asked. Aemon killed his first deer. This is great. Aegon got a boar too and young Darren shot down a quail. A day for the history books. I can't with you, sometimes. She let out an exhale, you stress me out sometimes. I leaned into her and kissed her cheek, I love you too. I chuckled, besides, at least I obeyed and waited on the main group. And Aemond and I did not run off to the city and take to the skies. Man, the old man is certainly having a good nap around now. She shook her head and gave me one of her signature annoyed looks. You're impossible to deal with, Baelon Targaryen. She said. I nodded, I know. Baelon. I heard father say, well done in skinning your kills. At least someone was able to know how to. I don't know how to skin a boar, father. Aegon exclaimed. I had someone teach you but you did not pay attention. Father said as he drank from his cup, And what was my sweet Helena up to today? Helena was sitting next to him, fidgeting with a piece of yarn, nothing. She said as she shifted awkwardly. Have you eaten? Father asked. No. She said, I'm not hungry. Ah, but you must eat, my dear. He said as he patted her shoulder. My beloved sister, you must eat. I said as I drank from my cup, you lose your strength if you don't. I don't need my strength. She said softly. When I'll have yours. 3 comments 0 vote. The prince and the princess. Baelon's Pav. My beloved sister. I said as I bowed slightly, I am here, as you requested. It was a few days after Aemon's royal hunt, we were back at the Red Keep. After I woke up, Mother sent for me, saying that Helena had asked for me. She was sitting on a couch in her chambers, with what looked like a millipede in her hands, brother. She said softly. I looked at the creature, what's this? Oh. She said as she lifted her hand, the creature slowly moving around on it, I've taken a liking to it. I walked over to her and sat next to her, oh. Is that so? I leaned in and examined it closely, that's quite interesting. It has 60 rings. She said softly, a pair of legs on each ring. 240 legs total. I said as I looked next to the couch and noticed several displays of her hobbies, is that so? My sister was quite something. I never judged her or anything, I found her interest with bugs and other sorts of creatures to be quite fascinating. The sort of innocence she displayed when focused on them was just alluring. It made me be what I'm supposed to be. An older brother who's supposed to protect her. She smiled, yes. She said. I gently tucked her hair behind her ear, you are quite a beautiful soul, my dear sister. I told her, why have you asked for me? I wish to spend time with you today. She said as she looked at me, you mostly spend time with Aegon and Aemond. Sometimes with Darren, but rarely with me. Ah, well, Darren is too young for my antics, Mother says. I said, and you're busy with your own hobbies, beloved sister. She gently set the creature on a small wooden box next to her and closed it, I see. She said, then shall we spend the day together? I frowned, what would we do? Take me to Balerion. She said, read to me like you used to when we were children. Ah. I said as I crossed my arms, Mother would be mad, she always got furious when I did that, hee hee. I used to take all of my siblings, one at a time, to Balerion and I would read to them atop of the old dread's head while he slept. It was one of my fondest memories to this day. I remember Aemond almost fell off because he was too scared to sit still. I have mine own dragon, Balerion is no different. She said. Dreamfire, I said before snapping my fingers, let's fly them together. Yes, we have not done that at all. What do you say, sister? You, me, flying to Dragonstone. She chuckled, you just want to visit our sister, right? She said. Her laugh was so sweet, one of my favorite sounds in the world. Well, of course. I said, I miss Rhaenyra, don't you? She nodded, yes. Well, what do you say? I said as I grabbed her hand, an adventure between brother and sister. Before we're husband and wife. She asked with a raised eyebrow. Ah. I said. I don't like to think about that. I always found it weird, how Targaryens work. To keep the bloodline pure. Such an excuse gets boring over time, no matter how I look at it. It is a jest, brother. She said with a slight smile, I would love to fly to Dragonstone, but mother forbade it. That's unfortunate. I said, well, I suppose we could go and read atop Balerion's head. Thank you. She said as she looked at me, About that, brother. About us being betrothed. Do you want it? I frowned, what? I know this is strange for you. It is for me. She said, but. Don't worry about it. I said with a chuckle, I tend not to think about it too much. Well. She said softly as she looked down, I do. Sister, it'll be alright. I said, if you don't wish to share my bed when the inevitable happens, I will not force you. You are the most precious being in the world to me, I will never hurt you. I raised her hand and I gently kissed it, giving her a smile. She looked at me with a surprised look, oh. She said. Let us enjoy our youth, I said with a chuckle, now let us go. To the Black Dread. You really like stressing me out. Mother said. I frowned, how so? I asked. You took Helena to Balerion. She asked. I sat down in my couch, reading a book in my chambers. Mother had come inside with her arms crossed. Yes. I said, nothing happened, mother. Balerion knows her. She sighed, you best be careful, Baelon. She said as she sat down next to me, I need you to understand something, my boy. I closed my book, is this going to be a lecture? I asked, I tend to get those more than Aegon. Because you earn them more than him. She said, Baelon. It has to happen. What? I asked. I know you, Baelon. She said, you choose to be in a blissful ignorance to the situation. You even fool yourself well enough. You are going to marry her, your own sister. I said as I looked down, well, yes, His Grace ordered it. You must understand, this is for the best. She said as she reached for my hand, for the best of the both of you. I scratched my cheek, I am always wondering what right mind came up with incestual marriages in Old Valyria. I said, this whole thing is strange. Then Aemond is marrying our niece, which makes it quite stranger. I don't know. Oh, my boy. She said, Baelon, it is how your family has always done things. I guess so. I said, it's not that strange for you, though, I bet. Why? She asked. I mean, well, you know. I said, we're not related by blood. I may not have carried you in my belly. She said, but I raised you, loved you, and taken care of you since you were but a babe. Gods rest your mother's soul, but she has not dealt with your antics like I have. I chuckled, why yay. You love to stress me out, yes. She said as she reached over to caress my cheek, but the gods know it, I hold nothing but pure love for you. Every time I look at you, I see a young man who I am proud of. I hope the sons that I gave birth to become half of the man that you are. I looked at her, she was giving me a smile, I said, yay, I bet they will. I don't know if anyone else is right for my only daughter. She said softly, I think you're the best for her. I know it. Every 10 to 15k reads, I'll upload another chapter. This one will be updated rather slowly. Read and support my novel, Cursed as a Dragon God, I'll appreciate any support given there. Web links. 14 comments 0 vote. The Prince and the Princess too. Baelon's Pav. Today's a good day to fly out. I said as I stretched my arms. I was outside, in the gardens, seeing many maids blush as they walked past me. One of them walked up to me as they held a platter with a jug of wine and a cup. My prince. She said. I said with a smile, thank you. I took a cup and poured wine on it from the jug, placing it back on the platter as she bowed slightly and walked past me. As I took a sip of the wine, standing there, I noticed my beloved sister sitting on a bench, off into the distance. Sir Harold was standing guard behind her as she read from a book. I smiled and proceeded to walk towards her, my sister. I called as I reached her, good morrow. Sir Harold looked at me, my prince. I nodded, Lord Commander. I said with a slight smile. Helena looked up at me, brother. She said softly, what brings you here? Ah, you know. I said as I knelt down in front of her, I was attracted by the prettiest flower in all of the garden, you. I placed my hand on her lap as I smiled at her, still holding the cup of wine in my hand. Helena smiled. Oh. She said awkwardly, is that so? I nodded and took another sip of my cup, you. Reading. She said, gesturing at her book. Nice. I said. She gently placed her hand on mine. Mother tells me that I shouldn't be humoring you. She said softly, flying with you only brings trouble, she says. Our mother is overprotective, that is all. I said, I would never let anything happen to you, my precious sister. She smiled, I know. She said. What do you say? Today? I asked, you, me, Balerion, and Dreamfire. Soaring to the skies, taking in the sight of the tiny world below us. I would love to. She said, but I can't. I frowned, you always reject me. I said with a disappointed tone, fine then. Whenever you are ready. I straightened up and patted my pants with my one hand. Yes. She said as she went back to reading. I gave her a smile, you're a joy in my life, you know that, Helena. I said with a chuckle. You see me as what I am. Your sister. She said, but soon. We'll be husband and wife. I nodded, yes, I suppose that's the case. I said, and after that, king and queen. Well, no help in going against it. Together, we'll rule and make this world a better place. My world is as fine as it is. With you in my life. She said as she looked at me with a genuine smile. You make me blush. I said with a smile, sister, I'll come by your chambers later, so we can read together. Right now, I have been summoned by father. And I love making him wait. You certainly love making me wait. Father said as he sat down in his chair, don't you, Baelon? We were in the small council room. Father sat in his seat as the Lord Hand, Otto Hightower sat in his. I shrugged, funny, I told my sister that. He said with a raised eyebrow, speaking of her. This is why I've called you. I crossed my arms, is that so? I said, what of it? The time is near, my boy. He said as he gave me a serious look, soon, Helena will come of age and you'll have to marry. You are my heir so you'll have to produce your own as well. What a crude way of putting it. I muttered, producing. We are aware that you care for your sister, Prince Baelon. Otto spoke up, but you must understand, that it is your duty. I said, got it. My son, I don't think you do. Father told me, you, who are so engulfed with freedom, you are meant to sit on the Iron Throne. You take your duties quite lightly. Take it easy, father. I said, it's not like you'll suddenly die or anything. The realm can wait a few years for me to put sons in my own sister. He raised an eyebrow, I know it is strange, to marry your own sister and all. He said, but you have to understand, the Targaryens have done this for generations. Yes, bloodlines pure and all. I said as I sighed, but you misunderstand, father, it's not that she's my sister, well that part is strange enough as it is, but it's Helena. I cannot force things upon her if she doesn't wish to. What if she doesn't wish to give me children? She needs to. Otto said, she'll need convincing. She's a gentle and pure soul, I will not have your words corrupt her, Lord Hand. I said with a scowl. Baelon. Father said, take it easy. I understand that Prince has my granddaughter's best interests at heart. Otto said, Your Grace, we all found Baelon Targaryen to be your daughter's best match. His kind and gentle heart, that is. I'm flattered. I said, but I don't want people forcing something on my sweet sister. If she doesn't want it, I won't force her. Helena is in agreement with the marriage, Baelon. Father said, she looks forward to it. She's a girl. I said. And you are a boy. He retorted, make no mistake, I only wish the best for my family. And for you, my son. I rolled my eyes, if you say so. You are the rider of Balerion. Otto said, it is best if we keep you within close proximity. Do you have any idea how many lords have wanted you to wed their daughters? Their sisters. Their mothers. And what about Helena? How many lords do you think want a Targaryen princess? This is the best course of action, Baelon. I understand. I said with another sigh, fine, I'll do it. But I'll do it for Helena. So nobody lays a finger on her. Read my novel. Cursed as a Dragon God, any support is greatly appreciated. Web links. 12 comments 0 vote. The heir to the Iron Throne. Third person POV. In the training yard, the master at arms and one of the Kingsguard, Criston Cole stood by as the young princes practiced their sword swings on the straw dummies. Sir Criston looked at Aemond, who showed a bit more promise than his older brother, Aegon. He had a bit more finesse and focus on his sword strikes as Aegon looked more careless and sluggish. The young Darren was trying his best, but since he was still so young, there was no surprise he was not that impressive. Sir Criston had his arms behind his back. Show more effort, Prince Aegon. He told the second son of King Viserys, your younger brother is showing better skill than you. Aegon sighed and smacked the straw dummy as he stepped back. Bah. He said with little to no care, I'm fine the way I am. Aemond took a step back as he looked at his brother. Do not lose interest in training, brother. He said, we are dragon riders, we ought to have skill in battle. Prince Aemond is right. Criston said, at this rate, Prince Darren will surpass you in skill. Darren was thrusting his wooden sword at the dummy with a smile on his face, so full of jovial innocence. Maybe swordplay isn't in me. Aegon smirked. The doors that led to the keep opened and their older brother, Baelon walked out, his white hair tied in a ponytail as the maid stepped out of his way while blushing. Ah. Baelon said with a smile, there you lot are. Hey, Aemond, want to go for a flight? Always with flying, this one. Aemond muttered. Criston Cole bowed slightly, my prince. He said. Baelon reached them, you training my brothers, Sir Criston. He asked, how goes their skill? Aemond and Darren show more promise than Aegon. Criston said. Baelon chuckled as he patted Darren's head and walked over to the weapons table, is that so? He said as he picked up a wooden sword, how about a bit of sparring, Sir Criston? Criston raised an eyebrow, my prince. Baelon tossed him the wooden sword as the Kingsguard caught it, been a while since we've exercised, Cole. He said with a smile, how about it? What say you? If my prince commands it, then so be it. Criston said with a slight smile, I warn you, I am still a Kingsguard. Baelon picked up another wooden sword and flipped it in the air, catching it with a smile, I know. I said, that won't stop me. Baelon suddenly lunged at Cole who blocked his swing. My prince. Cole exclaimed as he stepped back, what's gotten into you? Baelon chuckled as his brothers moved out of the way, come on, let's have some fun. Baelon then swung his sword at Cole as the Kingsguard parried it and countered with a thrust, which Baelon dodged. In the span of a few seconds, Baelon and Criston swung at each other multiple times, both of them dodging and parrying each other's strikes. Criston was pivoting and stepping back as he thrust his wooden sword at the prince's face who merely dodged out of the way and countered with his own thrusts and swings. You've gotten quite good, my prince. He said with a smile. Baelon chuckled, is that so? He said, I am meant to be this good. Baelon spun around, swinging his sword at Cole's waist, only for the Kingsguard to block it. The moment it was blocked, Baelon pulled away and followed it up with a swing to his head. Cole dodged out of the way and tried to counter but Baelon parried it with ease and went for a riposte, hitting Cole in the shoulder. Ha! Baelon said, got ya. Criston dropped his sword, ah, you did, my prince. He said with a smile, if it were a real blade, I'd be terribly wounded. Baelon took a step back, He said, you've gone easy on me, no. Don't. My prince, you're also holding back. Criston Cole said, you're much better than I am. Baelon twirled his wooden sword, is that what you think? I know it. Criston said. Baelon nodded, ah well. He said as he looked at his brothers, we are dragon riders, we can't rely much on our dragons, no. We need to hone our skills in combat. Aemond looked at Aegon, told you. Shut up. Aegon scowled. Suddenly, a servant ran up to Baelon and whispered something to him as he hunched over to listen. Oh. Baelon said as the servant hurried away, well, something has come up in the throne room. I'll see you lot later. Sir Criston, continue on my brother's training. Criston nodded, my prince. He said. Baelon turned around and walked away. Inside the throne room, Otto Hightower stood next to the empty Iron Throne as many lords stood across the room, murmuring amongst themselves, most of them arguing loudly. Whatever situation has arisen, the king was currently not present to hear it out. Otto, the Lord Hand, was merely quiet, scanning the room as he saw each and every lord's face as they constantly argued. One of them stepped forth, Lord Hand, where is his grace? He asked, this matter is important and urgent, we need to hear his opinion on this. His grace will be here. Soon. Otto said, and this matter. Well, it doesn't need his opinion. That's preposterous. One of the lords said, it is of great urgency. It may be so, but his grace will say the same thing as I. Otto said, be patient, he will soon come and hear all of you out. The lords began to argue amongst themselves, something must have riled them up enough for them to ignore Otto and continue bickering. Suddenly, the doors to the room opened and Prince Baelon walked in, his hand resting on the handle of his sword. Prince Baelon Targaryen. Sir Eric announced as he walked beside him, Prince of Dragonstone and heir to the Iron Throne. Almost immediately, the entire room got silent, only Baelon's footsteps along Sir Eric's clanging armor were heard. Otto looked at this, impressed by the power of Baelon's presence as the prince merely looked around with a serious look on his face. Baelon stopped in the middle of the room, a couple of meters away from the steps that led up to the throne. What is this? Baelon asked as he looked around, where is his grace? Why is every lord here whining like crying babes? Otto looked at him, my prince. He said, your father is busy, he will be here shortly. Okay then. Baelon said, and why is everyone crying? My prince. A lord stepped forth, an issue in the north has arisen, Skagosi are attacking the coasts. If they decide to go further down, they'll threaten the Vale. Baelon frowned, Skagosi. He said with surprise, they don't typically sail that far south. But they're attacking the coasts. Raiding the towns and villages. He exclaimed. The lords began to murmur in agreement, their resonating voices filling the room. Baelon raised his hand, suddenly stopping the voices. This impressed Otto yet again. Skagos shouldn't be a problem. Baelon said, unless there's another factor in play. Let Lord Stark deal with this. And if he requires help, then so be it. I'll fly up there and deal with this threat myself. Otto cleared his throat, my prince. He started, that would not be wi. The north is part of the realm. Baelon cut him off, if any of its people require my help, then I shall give them help. The flames of the Black Dread shall vanquish their enemies. 12 comments 0 vote. Unacceptable actions. Third person POV. Around 2 weeks after the concerns of Skagos were brought up before the court, everything went back to what seemed like normal. The king dismissed these concerns, stating that the North had not asked for help. Lord Stark had sent men to deal with it. Prince Baelon Targaryen had sent a letter to the Lord of Winterfell and Warden of the North, claiming that his blade and dragon are available to be used for this problem. Lord Rickon Stark appreciated the offer and felt more confident about this problem. Responding to the prince and telling him that he will be the first to be notified should Balerion the Black Dread be needed. King Viserys did not appreciate this, thinking that Baelon and Balerion would be overkill, but the heir dismissed his father's comments. Now, quite recently, word has spread of the royal family coming together in King's Landing, with the exception of Princess Rhaenyra, who stayed in Dragonstone, as usual. The eldest child of King Viserys almost never left the ancestral Targaryen seat, and people became suspicious but Prince Baelon almost immediately shut down any rumors. Princess Rhaenys, the wife of Lord Corlys Velaryon, had arrived one morning, along with her family. She was the queen who never was and King Viserys' favorite cousin. Despite the circumstances that led to Viserys' coronation, the two never once lost love for each other. She was the rider of Meleys, the Red Queen, one of the fastest dragons that House Targaryen had in their possession. Prince Daemon Targaryen, the king's younger brother, and husband of Laena Velaryon, Princess Rhaenys' daughter, arrived that same afternoon. The former heir was the rider of Caraxes, the Blood Worm. Prior to Balerion regaining his vigor, Caraxes was considered House Targaryen's greatest military power along Vagar. Lady Laena Velaryon at one point in her youth attempted to claim Vagar, failing and nearly losing her life. If it weren't for Daemon saving her, she wouldn't have been with them anymore. Vagar, at the time, was extremely aggressive, but after Prince Aemon claimed her a few years ago, she became calmer and docile. Lady Laena eventually went to Dragonstone, at the behest of Princess Rhaenyra, where she would claim Silverwing, becoming the prestigious dragon's second rider ever in history. This only left Vermithor to be the only dragon from House Targaryen's history to be left unclaimed. As Balerion, Vagar, Dreamfire, Silverwing, Meleys, and Caraxes were the veteran dragons that had their riders. Even compared to Balerion and Vagar, the Bronze Fury required a Targaryen with a strong will to even attempt to claim him. Some say that Balerion and Vagar sensed something in their respective riders that prompted them to hang their heads. Of course, Balerion had just freshly regained his strength and vigor and everyone believed it was Prince Baelon's birth that rejuvenated him which made him hang his head. As for Vagar, it is unknown how Prince Aemon came to make Visenya's mount hang her head. Her last rider was Aemon's grandfather, Prince Baelon Targaryen, his brother's namesake. But regardless, Viserys' sons became riders of the largest dragons in the world. Prince Daemon and Lady Laena brought their daughters, Baela and Rhaena, to King's Landing. Whenever the entire family gathers, something is expected to happen. Especially when Prince Baelon is known for his carefree and adventurous nature. He takes joy in interacting with his family, having nothing but fun, enjoying his life. But despite this, everyone is well aware that Prince Baelon Targaryen is not someone to underestimate in anger. His carefree nature is true, but his serious and ruthless side is also real as it could get. Nobody dares cross Prince Baelon, not even the rogue prince. Where is she? King Viserys rushed towards the door as two Kingsguard stood guard by them, Helaena. He slammed the doors open, his face filled with worry as he walked inside. Sir Harold walked behind him, a serious look on his face as well. He saw Queen Alicent sitting on the couch, Princess Helaena next to her. The queen had her arm wrapped around her daughter, tears in her eyes. King Viserys walked up to them as he saw Sir Criston standing next to them. What happened? He said, Sir Criston. Sir Criston gulped slightly. Your Grace. He said, the princess was getting ready for bed. Her maids were grabbing fresh sheets for her. And well. Viserys looked at Alicent, who gave him a serious look. Helaena was looking down, trembling as she was mumbling under her breath. Where are they? Viserys said, these fucking rat catchers. To think they'd lay their hands on my daughter. We apprehended them, Your Grace. Sir Criston said, we took them to the dungeon. I tried to ask the princess if they did anything. But she didn't respond. They didn't. Alicent said, thank the gods. But they scared her, Viserys. Any minute too late and they would've. She stopped herself and gulped, covering her mouth as Helaena kept mumbling. Your Grace. Sir Harold said, we'll place all of the Kingsguard on the princess's guard for the night. Viserys crouched down, ignoring him, my daughter. He said as he slowly reached for her. Helaena flinched, looking away and kept mumbling inaudibly. Viserys closed his eyes and sighed, understanding her reaction. He then stood up and looked at Alicent, who was silently telling him to do something about it. Take me to them. Viserys said, I need to speak to them. As he said that, one of the Kingsguard walked in, Your Grace. He said, the men apprehended were taken from their cells. What? Viserys exclaimed, by who? Who dares release criminals that laid their fingers on my daughter? Prince Baelon. The Kingsguard said. Gods be good. Sir Harold said, Your Grace. Viserys was surprised, Baelon. He said, that's not good. Viserys, if Baelon found out. Then that means. Alicent started. Daemon is here too. Viserys said, those men are dead. Outside of the city's walls, two men that were tied up were thrown onto the ground by gold cloaks. It was the dead of the night, only the light of torches was seen. One of them grunted as he tried getting on his knees, only to be kicked on the face and flung back to the ground. Stay down. One of the gold cloaks hissed. The other man looked up to see several men surrounding them in a circle, holding torches. These two men were the rat catchers that walked into Princess Helaena's room in an attempt to take her, but were stopped by Sir Criston and beaten by him and some other guards. Eventually, they were thrown into the dungeons. Fortunately for them, they didn't do much to Princess Helaena other than touch her, which prompted Criston to throw them into the cells to await their punishment. Unfortunately for them, Prince Baelon was told about it. There were some footsteps approaching, behind the gold cloaks. One of the gold cloaks spat on the ground, my prince. He said as the gold cloaks stepped aside, my lord. What business is this that I have to be called in the dead of the night, demon? Lord Corlys said as he came into view. Next to him, Prince Daemon stood, smiling slyly as he looked down at the rat catchers, He said, these two attempted to defile my niece, Lord Corlys. One of the rat catchers looked at them, please. He cried, mercy. A gold cloak walked up to them, and kicked him in the ribs, silence. Lord Corlys looked at them, is that so? He said, why alive? Daemon rested his hand against Dark Sister's handle and nodded over to the small hill that they were in front of. Him. He said. The rat catchers looked over to where he nodded at. Sitting on a rock, Prince Baelon was looking down, holding a gold coin as he ran it through his fingers. His long white hair was let loose, flowing in the slight breeze, and glowing in the light of the torches. Lord Corlys sighed, oh boy. Prince Baelon lifted his head and looked at the rat catchers, commoners. He said, given the opportunity to step foot in the Red Keep, with the sole purpose of getting rid of rats. A large castle, especially in a city as large as King's Landing, is bound to have a lot of pests, rats being one of them. But to think that the biggest worry in this fucking city wouldn't be rats the size of a small pup. It would be men. Men who know not the limits of their hubris. The rat catchers were pulled up to their knees as they looked at Baelon, a terrified expression in their faces. Yes, they were worried about the city watch, who were already known to be strict and brutal to criminals. Yes, the sudden appearance of the Lord of the Tides worried them, as Curlys was capable of sentencing them to death. Yes, the rogue prince's appearance was worrying since he was unpredictable, capable of pulling out Dark Sister and slicing their heads off with no hesitation. But they were more worried about the sight of Prince Baelon, a serious expression on his face. This wasn't just any prince, no, this was the older brother of the girl they tried to defile. Who knows what went through their heads at that moment, but it happened. Thanks to them, the other ratcatchers would probably lose their jobs. Or worse. Prince Demon walked up to the ratcatchers, kicking one of them on his back, forcing him to hit his face on the ground. Nephew. He said, allow me to cut one of their heads off. No. Baelon said, lift his face up. Demon chuckled as he stepped back and gestured at the gold cloak, do it. The gold cloak reached for the ratcatcher's shirt and pulled his face back up. Baelon leaned forward, glaring at them from his hill, Lord Curlys noticing a vein popping in his forehead. You must understand. Scum. Baelon said with anger, you didn't just lay your hands on a princess. She was my sister. And not just my sister. She is my betrothed. Taking your hands or your lives isn't enough to satiate my anger. No. Lord Curlys shifted, Prince Baelon. He started, what are you? Najat Mazis, Balerion, Baelon cut him off in High Valyrian. Demon smirked, oh this. He said, this is good. There was a deep rumbling, the ground shaking as a massive shadow emerged from behind Baelon. The rat catchers immediately realized one thing. They weren't in any other location outside of King's Landing. Lord Curlys took a step back, gods, Baelon. He muttered. The gold cloak stepped aside as the ground shook and they saw a mountainous shadow behind Baelon, a deafening rumbling being heard. The rat catchers widened their eyes, and no. One of them cried, please. They then felt a serious gust of wind as the light of the torches began to illuminate the mountainous shadow, black scales being revealed with a deep glow of red. Behind Baelon, a massive snout was visible, thrice the size of a wheelhouse, two massive nostrils snorting gusts of wind. The rat catchers froze in pure fear as they saw two massive red eyes glare right at them. A growl was heard, a deep and loud one, which made even the goldcloak's skin crawl. Even the Lord of the Tides felt intimidated by the sight of what was before them. Demon Targaryen was smiling but felt a bit of nervousness, knowing that this was a different feeling than any other dragon. The growl caused everyone's bone to vibrate, it was so loud and menacing that the mere sound would make one feel like they were dead. Baelon didn't say a word, merely looked at the rat catchers. The two foolish and overzealous men realized one thing, which cemented their fates. They were before the Black Dread. A.N. wanted to save Balerion's introduction for a serious moment, like this one. Something that made Baelon feel like a serious presence, not just a jovial easygoing guy. Anyways, thanks for the support. Read my novel, Cursed as a Dragon God. Web links. 16 comments 0 vote. The Black Dread. Third person POV. Balerion let out a deep growl, loud enough that everyone present felt it through their skins and in their bones. The Goldcloaks were nervous and intimidated, as was Lord Curlys, but they braced themselves. Demon Targaryen was also a bit nervous, fully aware of Balerion's legendary status. If the dragons were thought as gods by the people, then Balerion was the most powerful of gods. The only one who was calm was Baelon Targaryen, the heir to the Iron Throne. He merely sat there, looking at the criminals he had brought before the Black Dread. The ratcatchers were crying in fear, piss filling their pants and pooling around them. The gold cloak next to them stepped back, fucking hells. He said. Lord Curlys gulped, Balerion. He whispered. As horrifying as ever, the old brute. Demon smirked as he looked at the Black Dread, a glint of admiration in his eyes. Balerion lifted his head, letting out a deep rumble as he opened his maw, the sound was extremely terrifying. His glare was piercing right through the two rat catchers, but despite this, everyone was intimidated. The Black Dread was the largest dragon in the world, even larger than Vigor herself. Balerion could occasionally be seen outside the walls, his lying body taller than the city walls. Both him and Vigor are too large to be constantly moving in and out of the dragon pit, prompting for them to be stationed outside the walls, with their own station sections built. Right now, he is merely reaching his head towards his rider, responding to Baelon's ire. His entire body was hidden from sight, in the shadows, but the full magnitude of Balerion's size could be seen as an entire mountain atop a hill. Both Vigor and Vermithor, two veteran and old dragons, show their age through their saggy hide under their necks. This was a sign of their age, for whatever reason. But Balerion did not show this. His hide and scales were large, yes, but they were hardened and honed. This made him more terrifying. The largest dragon in the world, seemingly unaffected by the aging of its kind. His scales were black and the deep shade of red looked healthy, full of life and power. His teeth, which were exposed. Baelon stood up as he reached and patted Balerion under his chin. I don't need to tell you who this one is, do I? He said as he looked at Balerion, who kept rumbling loudly, everyone in this realm knows. From every old crone to every newborn babe knows it. This is power incarnate. One of the ratcatchers looked down and began to mumble prayers under his breath, the other one just wept loudly as he looked at the dragon. Baelon then looked at the ratcatchers. There is nothing that'll save you, he said, except for fate. He flung the gold coin towards them, the light of the torches reflecting off it as it flew towards them, landing in the dirt in front of them. One of them looked at it. What? Demon chuckled. This has gotten interesting. I'm glad I came here. Yes, but why am I here? Curlis said. Silence. Baelon said seriously. Balerion lowered his head next to Baelon and growled. Curlis cleared his throat and didn't say a word. He knew that there was a deeper reason for him to be here, it wouldn't be for nothing. Baelon looked at the rat catchers. Flip a coin. He said, if it's heads, I'll spare you death by the Black Dread. If it's dragon. Well, you know. The Goldcloaks reached down and cut their ropes, freeing their limbs and giving them movement. What? One of them said. Pick the coin and flip it. The Goldcloak spat, now. The one that was praying picked it up and flipped it, watching as the gold coin glowed from the light of the torches in the air. It landed on the ground, revealing the face of King Jaehaerys. Why yes. The ratcatcher cried in relief, thank you, my prince. Thank you. Baelon nodded, uncle. Suddenly, a blade plunged through the back of the ratcatcher's mouth, his eyes widened in shock as blood poured down the tip of Dark Sister into the ground. The other ratcatcher crawled away. What? He cried before two gold cloaks caught him and punched him in the face and stomach. Stay. One of them warned. Demon pulled his blade out of the head of the ratcatcher, the dead body plopping down to the ground as the rogue prince wiped the blood off the famed Valyrian steel blade. He said as he looked at the ratcatcher who was crying. Baelon looked at the other ratcatcher, and leaned forward as Balerion let out a rumble. I am a man of my word. He didn't die by Balerion. He said, but who the fuck said he was going to walk out of this alive? No. Your fate was decided the moment you acted with malintent on my Helena. I will invoke my wrath upon anyone who dares harm her. Demon smiled as he picked the gold dragon up, flip the coin. He said as he tossed it to the ratcatcher, my nephew awaits. The ratcatcher shook his head, mercy, prince. Please. The gold cloak pulled dagger out, shut the fuck up. He said as he cut his cheek with it. He cried in pain as blood ran down the cut, stop. Flip the fucking coin. The other one said as he punched him on the stomach, that's what you get for laying your hands on the princess. Nobody does something like that and gets away with it. Now flip the coin. The ratcatcher slowly picked the coin up as he sobbed, blood pouring down from the cut. He then weakly flipped the coin and it landed on the ground in front of him. The light of the torches illuminated a dragon engraved on the coin. Demon said, poor bastard. The Goldcloaks picked him up and dragged him towards Baelon and Balerion. Balerion opened his maw and let out a rumble, slowly moving forward, his gargantuan wings coming into view, covering the entire area. As the Goldcloaks dragged the ratcatcher to them, Balerion lifted his head up, towering high over them. The Goldcloaks threw the man into the ground and quickly walked away as he got up to his feet. Mercy. He cried as he looked at Prince Baelon, my prince. No. Baelon simply said with a serious look. Balerion then quickly swooped down and in a terrifyingly swift motion, took the man into his mouth along with a piece of the ground, causing a light shockwave and throwing dirt everywhere. He raised his head as he quickly gulped, swallowing the man whole. Baelon showed no reaction, merely looking at Balerion, who shook his neck, looking down at the rest of the crowd present. Lord Curlees watched this with his eyes widened, in complete shock. Prince Baelon. Lord Curlees. Demon said as he looked at him, you saw it, right? Lord Curlees looked at him, what? You see that my nephew is not someone to cross, right? Demon asked as he walked up to him, best keep that in mind. When you constantly whine about my cousin who was supposed to be queen, when you complain that my brother refused your proposal to marry Laena to Baelon back then. Tell the lords who whisper behind my brother's back. Do not piss Prince Baelon off. Read my novel, Cursed as a Dragon God. Web links. 15 comments 0 vote. Scolding. Baelon's Pav. You two went behind my back, released the scum from their cells, and fucking executed them. Father yelled at uncle and I merely looked away as I sat on a couch and blew raspberries, yep. I said. Sounds about right. Uncle said. What gives you the right? Father bellowed. I looked at him and saw that he was standing next to Mother, who had her arms crossed while slowly shaking her head, giving me the trademark Alicent stares. The fact that they dared to touch my niece, your daughter. Uncle Demon said as he leaned forward from his seat, nobody touches one of our own and gets away with it, it's as simple as that, Viserys. What am I to tell the people? When they find out that two small folk were dragged out of the walls and executed in front of Balerion, the Black Dread. Father kept going as I rolled my eyes. You will tell them nothing or the fucking truth. Uncle stood up, they committed a crime and we paid them back with blood. The fact that we don't string up the rest of the rat catchers should tell them we're merciful, at the least. Enough of you, demon. Father said as he pointed at him, you have been a terrible influence on my son, taking advantage of his power to meet your own Goa. Oh please. Uncle said, I merely acted in defense of my niece. My blood. My family. Can you not see that? Acting with brutality. That is not what we represent. Father responded. We represent power. Demon shouted, our dragons are the mightiest power in the world. If we don't use them to punish our enemies, they will merely get too comfortable that things like these will happen again. Why the fuck do you think Rhaenyra has not left that damned rock in so long? Need I remind you of what happened? Do no mention Rhaenyra, demon. Father said as he glared at him, you. I cleared my throat, you done. I told the two of them. They both looked at me, father frowned as he stepped to the side. Am I? He scoffed, am I done? The nerve on this one. He reached for a cup of wine from the table next to him and began to chug it down as Demon walked back to his seat. Calm down, husband. Mother said, I am sure Baelon has a reasonable excuse why he overstepped. I nodded, I do. I said, they touched my sister. My betrothed. Such things will not be tolerated, not while I still live. And while I still live, you will not step over me and mine authority to execute prisoners that await justice. Father said as he set the cup down, you. I am her brother. I shouted with a scowl, she's my sister, father. My sister. I can't let some fucking pieces of shit lay a finger on my precious sister without me doing something about it. I'll do it again 10 times if I could. Baelon. He said as he steadied his breathing and looked down, Viserys. Mother said as she walked up to him and grabbed his hand, he's right. While the method to go about it was a bit too much. He's right. Justice had to be served. I stood up and walked up to him, uncle is right. I said seriously, if we don't punish them, they will learn to get comfortable, even with our dragons. And they will do as they please. Who's they? He said with a frown. Our enemies, father. I said. They're everywhere and you know it. I walked through the doorway as Esser Kristen closed the door behind me. I saw Helena sitting on her bed, curled up and hugging her knees. Her maids were next to the bed, looking at her with worry. Princess, you need to bathe. One of them said. Or at least eat. The other said. As I approached, I noticed she was trembling slightly, mumbling under her breath. Her hair was covering her face so I couldn't see her eyes. It unsettled me, I am always able to see her beautiful eyes, taking in their majesty, but now. I couldn't. And I didn't like that. Sister. I said as I stood next to the bed, it's me, Baelon. She didn't respond, merely mumbling to herself. I looked at the maid who gulped nervously, has she eaten? No, my prince. She said. I nodded, I see. I said while looking back at her, Helena. You need to eat, sister. Helena stopped mumbling and turned her head to face me, be brother. She said softly. Why yes. I said as I slowly sat on her bed, it is I, Baelon. I reached for her shoulder and she flinched, moving an inch away. She said softly, I'm not hungry. I pulled the hand away, understanding her reaction. You must eat. I said as I looked at her, please, sister. I hate seeing you like this. It always breaks my heart. Every time one of Helena's pets die, whether it be her bugs, her birds, or her cats, she becomes gloomy and sulks in her room. For days at a time, she stays in her bed, mumbling to herself, lost in her own mourning. My sister is one of the sweetest souls in the realm, possibly the purest, and the fact that mere animals dying is enough to make her this sad is the reason why I always protect her. But this wasn't one of her pets dying, no. This was much worse than that. If Kristen Cole was a few minutes too late. What could have happened was something that would leave a scar forever. I understand that this was something traumatic for someone as sweet and gentle as her, and I want to be there for her. She's my sister, I love her. I'm not hungry. She repeated as Helena. I scooted closer, please, can I touch you? She looked at me, I caught a glimpse of her eyes, oh okay. I gave her a warm smile and gently patted her shoulder, feeling her flinch slightly. It's okay. I whispered, sister, it's okay. They're gone. They won't touch you again. I know. She said softly, you killed them. I nodded, I did. Why? She asked. Because they hurt you. I responded. Why would you do that for me? She asked. Because you're my sister. I said as I rubbed her shoulder with my thumb, because I love you. They were lives. And you took them. She said. And I would do it again, Helena. For you. I told her. I reached for her hair and moved it out of her face, revealing her eyes, red from crying. I tucked her hair behind her ear as I placed my hand back on her shoulder. Be brother. She said. Yes. I said with a smile. Stay with me. She asked. I nodded, of course. I said. Thank you. She said. I leaned in and kissed her on the forehead as I wrapped my arm around her. It's okay, my dear sister. I said softly, stay by my side. And nothing will happen to you. 11 comments 0 vote. Comfort. Read my novel, Cursed as a Dragon God. Web links. Baelon's POV. I walked down the hallway, hearing that my father had summoned me, once again. I yawned as I flicked some hair out of my face, I ought to cut this. I muttered. I had just woken up and didn't have time to properly comb this high-maintenance hair. Father and his summons were always exhausting because he would constantly lecture me about stuff I already know about. I just hope that this isn't about Skagos, because I meant what I said about going there and dealing with things myself. I cannot ignore any requests for help from any lord in this realm. Well, any realm that is fiercely loyal to our house. As I walked, I turned a corner and ran into Helena, who was being escorted by Esser Harold. She was wearing a dress and her hair was neatly combed as usual. It was a very surprising sight, seeing her out of her chambers after what had happened. I occasionally went and checked on her, making sure she ate. It had been almost 2 weeks since it happened and I'm sure it'll take even longer for her to get over it. Oh. I said with surprise, sister, you've left your room. Helena looked down, brother. She said softly. I walked up to her and smiled, I'm glad. I said, patting her shoulder, what are you up to? Father summoned me. She said. Oh, is that so? I said, he summoned me too. I wonder what for. She looked at me, oh, so you're going with him too. She said. I nodded, yes, come, let us go and see what the king wants. She said nervously, is it okay? If. Well. Never mind. I frowned, what is it? I wanted to know if it's okay if we held hands. She said as she blushed slightly. I blinked, oh. I said, well, okay. I don't see why not. It's just like when we were younger then, haha. I held your hand while we went to see Balerion down in his cavern. She nodded, why yes. I offered her my hand, very well. I watched as she slowly reached for it and gently grabbed my hand. Thank you. She said softly, I can only find comfort with your touch, brother. I smiled, of course. I said as I leaned in and kissed her on the forehead, I understand. I won't let anything happen to you. Let's go. I'll be by your side. Baelon. Father said as she stood up from his seat in the small council room, Helena. I've called you both here too. You're holding hands. We were standing in front of the table. Nobody was present aside from the king and his hand, Helaena's grandfather, Otto. He was merely looking at us holding hands without saying a word. I didn't notice a reaction from him, either. I nodded, astute observation, father. I said. Father frowned, He started, may I ask why? Sorry, father. Helaena said softly, I asked him too. Oh. Father said as he walked towards us, is that so? I saw as she nodded and looked down, not letting go of my hand, giving me a firm grip. Yes. She said, I find his touch comforting. Oh. Father said as he looked at me, Baelon. You didn't. I frowned, catching what he was insinuating, what? I said, no. Okay. Father said as his eyes darted between us, I see. Is there a problem, father? Helaena asked as she looked at him. No, dear. Father said as he walked up to her and patted her shoulder, of course not. I saw as she slightly winced, uncomfortably. Father caught this as well and stepped away as he looked down. It's okay, sister. I said reassuringly. Father cleared his throat, I wanted the two of you here so we can discuss your futures. He said, I didn't know if you were to have any doubts, but by the looks of it, I can see that the two of you are comfortable with each other. I raised an eyebrow, is that so? Father nodded as he looked over at Otto, who was standing up, you are my heir, Baelon. He said, and I've given it some thought of what you've said. I have to be more open-minded at what could happen to us, whether positively or negatively. I had made up my mind long ago, but it is now that I wish to be vocal about it with the two of you. You two will wed and will produce more children. Helaena, I hope you can understand. Helaena slowly nodded, I'll do my duty. She whispered. Don't think of it as just duty, my dear. Otto told her, of all the men in the realm, Baelon is the only one suitable for such a sweet soul for you. I am sure the prince will be good to you. I looked at him, If there's any questions, my children. Father said, right now would be a good time to speak them. What if I don't want to have children? Helaena said as she looked at him. I didn't say anything, just looked at her. My dear. Father said, What do you mean? She said softly, I don't know, I'm sorry. I gently squeezed her hand, my sister, you don't need to be sorry. I said softly, whatever your feelings are, I'll respect them, worry not. I will not force anything upon you. The princess is young. Otto said, I'm sure she has doubts, like any young maiden would. But beloved granddaughter, one day, you'll be queen. And it is the queen's duty to produce an heir to her king. Helaena said as she looked at me, oh okay. I turned to face her and patted her cheek, listen to me. I said softly, if you don't want to, we don't need to. Fuck what everyone tells us. You are my precious sister, I'll do whatever it takes to make you happy. Baelon. Father started. No, I'm serious. I said without taking my eyes off Helaena, peering deep into hers, you have doubts, sister. It's okay. It is fine to feel like this. But worry not, whatever choice you make, I'll support it. Nobody, and I mean nobody, will tell you what to do. You have to understand, Prince Bay, Otto started. I understand that I will marry my sister. She will be my wife, Lord Hand. I said seriously while looking at him, and I will do whatever my wife will ask of me. If she one day decides to give me a child, so be it. Until then, I will not force anything upon her. Do I make myself clear? 12 comments 0 vote. Longing to spend time with her. Read my novel, Cursed as a Dragon God. Web links. Baelon's Pav. I leaned my face against a book, I groaned as I heard the annoying voice of Lord Jasper, this is fucking boring. I heard Otto clearing his throat, my prince. He said. I slowly turned my face to see her, yes. You're in a small council meeting, please act accordingly. The hand said as father gave me a scowl. I straightened up and leaned back against my seat, fine. I said as I noticed the other members of the small council shift in their seats. Apologies, Jasper. Father said. No worries, Your Grace. Jasper said, it appears our prince does not enjoy this particular activity. You got that right. I muttered. What's that, Baelon? Father asked. I sighed as I moved my bangs out of my face, when can I cut this fucking hair short? I muttered again, it's getting annoying. What? Father said. Nothing. I said. Should we go back to the topic at hand? Otto said. Lord Jasper, continue. Continue. I said sarcastically as I looked down and twirled my bangs. I heard someone clearing their throat, louder than Otto's, and causing the room to go silent. Looking up, I saw the serious gaze of Mother set upon me as she sat on her seat next to Father. She had that classic Alicent Hightower look in her eyes, a stare that would kill a dragon should stares cause damage. Everyone. Mother said, out. Oh boy. Father said under his breath. I saw as all of them stood up and began to walk away. Today's topic was trivial anyways. Shall we continue this later this afternoon, Your Grace? Lord Tyland asked. Father nodded, of course. He said as he and Otto didn't move. As everyone had left and the doors were closed, Mother stood up and leaned her hands against the table, giving me a serious look. What is with you, Baelon? She asked. These past couple of weeks, you've been nothing but antagonizing. To me, your father, my own father, and pretty much everyone in the court. You are not just the heir to the throne, you are also a member of the small council. You need to take this seriously. Have you no shame? Alicent. Father said with a nervous smile, let's take it easy. Easy. You are the king, Viserys. She said, he is your heir, he should act accordingly. He is no longer a boy, the entire realm holds him in such a high regard that any sign of weakness will cause them to turn their backs on him. Your Grace, my queen. Otto said, so long as Baelon has the black dread, nobody will turn their backs on him. It is with. The Skagosi have not relented in their coastal attacks. I cut him off, why aren't we talking about that? They all looked at me. What? Father said, what did you say? While we're here, chatting, our northeastern shores are getting raided relentlessly. I said as I tapped my fingers on the stone table, I expected a letter from Lord Stark to enlist my help, but a little birdie told me that one of you three told him that no help will come. Is this what this is about, Baelon? Mother said, you wish to go to war. Is that it? Why is it that conflict, fighting, and bloodshed are all that men desire? I am a dragon rider. I said, I ride Balerion, the last remnant of old Valyria. If I don't take my dragon to crush our enemies, then what will our people think of us? Our house. Our dynasty. The Northerners can handle Skagos, Baelon. Father said, there is no need to send you. Then send uncle at least. I said, do something. He frowned, excuse me. He said, you forget yourself. Not only am I your father, I am your king, yes, I know. I said as I rolled my eyes, you made it so clear as of late. Always trying to control me. Baelon this, Baelon that. Baelon, you will marry your sister, Baelon, you will not take her to ride to the skies. No, Baelon, you cannot go to Dragonstone and see your older sister. No, Baelon, you cannot go and burn Skagos to the ground. Always telling me what I can or cannot do. I mean fine, I won't fly to Dragonstone with Helena if you don't want me to, but for fuck's sake, let me cut my damn hair. Baelon. Mother exclaimed. I stood up, smacking the ball out of its socket as it rolled across the table and fell off on the other side. Fuck this. I said walking away. Where are you going? Father called for me. I waved them off, nowhere. What do you want, Aegon? I said as I laid atop the roof of one of the towers of the Red Keep, looking up at the night sky. He was pulling himself up from the ladder, brother. You always have the most dangerous spot to hide out. He said as he crawled towards me, aren't you afraid you'll fall? I won't fall. I said as my eyes were focused on the stars. I felt as he laid down next to me, a couple of feet away, I heard from Grandsire that you stormed off from the small council room. He said, what was that about? Nothing. I said. Ah, is it Skagos? He said with a chuckle, both you and uncle are the same. So eager to wage war. I smacked my lips, it's fucking annoying. I grumbled, I just want to crush the enemies that threaten our people and get it over with. While we speak, they raid and pillage more innocent villages over there. Jay, just go and deal with it. Aegon said. Are you mad? Everyone here will throw a fit. I said with a frown. Who gives a shit? Aegon chuckled, you're Prince Baelon Targaryen. Rider of Balerion, who gives a fuck what anyone thinks? If I were you, I'd conquered all of Essos by now. You're a shit strategist. It'd take you decades to even take Pentos. I chuckled, but you're right. It's not that, though. What is it? He asked. I don't know. I said, they don't let me go see Rhaenyra, even though she lives in my home, keeping it cozy for me when I turn 18. And they betrothed me to Helena, and even yet, they don't let me spend time with her. How so? You always hang out with her in her room, making sure she sleeps. Aegon said. That's not what I mean. I said, up there, brother. Ah. Aegon said, yay, that is true. Helena needs to fly. I said, that'll get her mind off what happened. You did the right thing. Aegon told me, I'd done the same. But nothing strikes fear more than Balerion, the Black Dread. I nodded, indeed. So. He said, you just want to spend time with her. With our sister. I nodded, yes. Well, time in my way, you know. Oh, I get you. He said, you know. She loves you. I looked at him, what? Helena. He said while shrugging, you know, I never understood this whole Targaryen incest thing. I mean, we come from a Hightower and all. Wait, not you, I keep forgetting that. Anyways, the Faith of the Seven is adamant that incest is wrong, but here we Targaryens are, marrying sisters and direct cousins. Although the cousins part isn't that bad, most Westerosi do that anyways. Your point? I asked. Maybe we're fundamentally different. He said. We are. I said, we're bonded with dragons, Aegon. Dragons. Huh, that's true. He said, anyways, from a young age, Helena has been infatuated with you. Yet, you never noticed. I mean, yes, you love all of us, like all of us. You showed your older brother side many times. You would read to us atop Balerion's snout and all. And we love you, of course, you're our brother. But Helena's love is different, you know. It's different. I'm talking a real love. She's an awkward girl, our sister. But the thing is, she always felt comfortable with you. I blinked, I see. Ah, but you don't. He chuckled, maybe you're starting to feel the same. You are Targaryen, after all. So are you, you fool. I grumbled, what's this about? Do you want to see her, right now? He asked. Well. Yay. I said. There you go. He said. Yes, but it's not like that. I said, she's my sister. I know. He said, maybe soon, you'll stop seeing her as such. You're to be married, after all. I sighed, whatever. Didn't you have a crush on Rhaenyra? He asked me of the sudden. I scowled, what the fuck? No. I said. You were always glued to her when we were kids. He chuckled. She's my sister, you fucking idiot. I said with annoyance, full sister, not half. Don't take it the wrong way, but we came from the same womb. Doesn't change that I love our mother, but you get the gist. Hey, man, it's normal for us Targaryens, I guess. He laughed, we should develop some sort of feelings for our siblings. I smacked his shoulder, shut up. Fucking idiot. I said, didn't you just say you never understood the whole incest thing? Hee hee. He chuckled, I lied. Oh fuck sake. I said as I sat up and sighed, ah, screw it. What? He asked. The night has a nice cool breeze, don't you think? I said, giving him a smirk. He nodded, yes. Grab Aemond. I said, we're going for a ride, all four of us. He said, four of us. Well, yay, Darren is in Aldtown. I said as I stood up, and Ray is in Dragonstone. All four of us. You, me, Aemond, and Helena. We're flying tonight. No guarantee that I'll upload more in the upcoming week, so enjoy this extra chapter. Do read my novel, though. Lunacia_Eugen Creators